Welcome to the Scale Community Tech Solutions podcast, where we explore innovative technology in the care delivery market, and we help the users and consumers of these solutions explore what can be useful to their businesses. And today we have the pleasure of being joined by Emi Gal, the founder and CEO of Ezra. And we look forward to exploring how Ezra is helping advance care delivery within the imaging market holistically. And so maybe with that, Emi, firstly, thank you for taking the time, and we're happy to have you here. And we'd love to begin with sort of the vision of Ezra. So what led you to found and create Ezra? What was the market need and challenge and pain point you were trying to solve for?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Jason. It's great to be here. Excited for this conversation. So, background of Ezra, I'm a computer scientist by training. I studied applied mathematics and computer science in Romania. And before Ezra, I actually started a company in a very different space, in the advertising technology space, building early kind of nascent machine learning solutions for the ad tech kind of world. That company was acquired by a big advertising group in New York City, and I moved to New York. And then I was kind of looking at what I would do next, and I've always kind of been interested in the cancer space because I'm personally at high risk for cancer, for melanoma. I've had cancer in my family. Sadly, my mother passed away from cancer because she found cancer late. And so I decided to dedicate myself to trying to find a way to find cancer early. And that's how Ezra was born. And what we've built is essentially the fastest, most accurate, most affordable way to screen for cancer ever in the body. Our solution is this full body MRI powered by a number of AIs that takes 30 minutes, screens for cancer in all of the organs you cannot currently screen for cancer in, about 13 organs. And we've since, been around for about 4 or 5 years, and we've scanned tens of thousands of people, have helped, hundreds of thousands of people find cancer.
Great. And so for those that are less familiar with some of these advanced technologies, maybe we can just spend a minute to kind of dissect exactly what Ezra does and how it functions. So when you say that you're accelerating the process of these MRIs and also increasing the efficiency and the findings of these scans, are you providing the scans at Ezra? Are you providing the technology to others? How does it practically work?
Yeah, so the way Ezra works is you go on Ezra.com as a consumer. You book a scan there. We have a number of types of scans with kind of different, slightly different features. You then visit a partner imaging facility, and we don't own and operate facilities. We partner with some of the largest imaging networks in the country, like RadNet, Reyes, Hackensack, Simon Med, and so on. And we run a number of software and AIs that we can kind of dive into at those facilities in order to get the scan done for the person who just booked it. So you book a scan, you go to the facility, get a scan there using our technology. The radiologists at the facility then read the scan assisted by our AIs. We get the reports, radiology reports, and then we have an AI that converts the radiology reports into plain English so that anyone can understand what they mean. And then we deliver that to the consumer. And so we're a direct-to-consumer offering that leverages software that we've built and hardware that others own in order to deliver this scan.
Great. So direct to consumer, it sounds like, is the main focus. Is that 100% of your business today in terms of how the patients are providers coming to add on your software on top of their hardware to drive better outcomes?
Yeah, so a majority of our customers are consumers who are they want to take ownership of their health, and so they're signing up for Ezra directly, booking a scan, going through the process. We have an increasingly large physician referral business. So this is concierge physicians, primary care physicians, sometimes specialist physicians referring their patients to get Ezra scans. And then the way in which we engage with the health system, so to speak, or with imaging networks, is that we are essentially buying remnant inventory from them. A lot of these facilities operate at 50, 60, 70% fill rate. We come in and bring it up to 100% fill rate. So we buy that MRI scanning time. We come in and we install a bunch of protocols and AI software to enable us to make MRI scans faster. And our typical scan is 2 to 3 times faster than a standard MRI scan. And then that enables us to offer this scan to consumers at scale without owning facilities. And so we're in 20 cities, about 80 facilities, which would have been very difficult to achieve had we not gone the partnership route.
Wonderful. And how many patients do you serve today? You mentioned 20 cities. How many patients, how many locations?
Yeah, so we're in about 80 locations, tens of thousands of people a year.
And is there a particular clinical focus? I think you mentioned 13 organs, but what types of cancer scans, and are there any applications outside of the cancer spectrum, or is that really where you're exclusively focused today?
Yeah, so our primary focus is cancer, and really we've designed Ezra to be a great screening modality in organs where MRI has high sensitivity and specificity. And so you can take everything from brain to prostate. Most of the organs in the body will be great on MRI. Like, you'll be able to find early cancer with high sensitivity, relatively high specificity. We've excluded the organs that already have screening procedures. So for example, we wouldn't want someone to do a full body MRI and not do a mammogram or not do a colonoscopy and so on. So we've kind of designed our scan to be complementary to existing standard of care screening procedures. And we've deliberately excluded some organs from our scan where there's the sensitivity on MR at early stage is low. So for example, in the stomach, in the esophagus, cancerous lesions generally present as flat lesions on the surface of the organ, and that makes them very difficult to image on MR when they're early stage. So we didn't want to give anyone any false sense of security, and so we chose organs that could be screened with MRI, and we've just built technology to do that really, really quickly, like scan really fast, which then decreases the cost, and then that enables us to pass those cost savings to consumers.
Great. Let's talk about results. So, clearly to the patient, the idea of early detection of cancer, of increased efficiency and of the scan, and also the results would be a considerable benefit. But how do you think about quantifying a scan with Ezra versus without, from the perspective of the patient, from the perspective of the provider, and to the extent you think about it this way too, from the perspective of the payer?
Yeah. So all very good questions. First, without Ezra, without the Ezra AIs to do faster image acquisition, without the Ezra AI to translate radiology reports into plain English and so on, MRI, full body MRI scanning would be much more expensive. You can imagine our fastest, most affordable scan is $1,400. If you were to do it, and it takes 30 minutes in the scanner, without Ezra, it would take you like 2 to 3 hours in the scanner, cost you $5,000 to $10,000. And so our goal from day one was start with a relatively high-end product. That was our $2,500 scan. Use the success of that to build AIs to create more affordable products. That's our 1,400 30-minute scan. And then within about 2 years, with a lot more AI development, we think we're going to get to a $600 15-minute scan. And at $600, it becomes something that payers will reimburse, that employers will cover at least partially. It's just become something that can scale a lot more. Now, so that's kind of the question around, like, with and without Ezra. The problem is, without Ezra, there's no full body scanning, because nobody wants to be in a scanner for 3 hours and pay $10,000. Two, early detection really, really works. And if you look at survival rates at stage 0, 1, 2 versus the survival rates at 3, 4, so metastatic, it's a stark difference. Early stage detection has a 80, 90, 99% 5-year survival rate. Late stage detection has less than a 20% 5-year survival rate. So you want to be able to find cancer early for people. The challenge was, before Ezra, that there was no way to find cancer in a pancreas or in the liver and so on, unless you were symptomatic. And then thirdly, what we've also developed is this kind of like seamless, beautiful experience that makes it super easy to get scanned. Like you click 3 times, you have an appointment, you're ready to go, which is very different from a typical healthcare experience. And as a result of that, our NPS scores are just like through the roof. We have NPS scores in the 70s, which, if you look at healthcare, most NPSs are like have a minus in front of them.
What I love about a lot of these technology solutions is that they require collaboration between human services and technology, and so they really lend themselves well to different parties coming together to offer different value props to the overall equation. And so they're conducive to strategic partnerships. And it sounds like Ezra is no different, where you have strategic partnerships with these imaging centers around the country. And I'm wondering if you can walk us through what that was like to build. How did you go about building that network? Where did you succeed with a message that resonated? Where did you receive pushback from these counterparts? Because change is always a double-edged sword and can face resistance.
Yeah, it was hard actually. When I started Ezra, I was like this, Romanian computer scientist that had not worked in healthcare ever, and so it was difficult to kind of crack through the market and get a partner and get rolling. And through a kind of a bit of luck, our first partner for running the Ezra scan was RadNet, and RadNet is largest, most successful outpatient imaging network in the country. And it so happens that RadNet is also very, very focused on population health as kind of one of their big themes. And so they were very kind of aligned philosophically with what we were trying to do. And so we basically launched through a partnership with RadNet, and then became very successful, both in terms of helping RadNet increase fill rate and throughput, as well as in helping people find cancer early and get treated and become cancer-free or in remission. And so the word got out, and then we got more partners and so on. And actually over the past year, we've kind of hit an inflection point, and we now have partnerships, exclusive partnerships. Like, we're the only full body company that operates in most of the top 15 large imaging networks in the country.
And what is required on their side in order to operationalize? How much investment, how much time, how much change in workflows, change in infrastructure to succeed?
Yeah, the nice thing about Ezra is it requires almost no time on their end. We come in with protocols, with AIs, with routing infrastructure to send images to our AIs and back, radiology templates, testing, and obviously we come in with a lot of demand for these scans. So the typical workflow is that from the moment we start chatting with a new facility to the moment we go live, it's like 4 to 6 weeks. So, and then they start generating revenue, and many of these facilities are now generating millions, tens of millions soon from Ezra.
And really, as you said before, in a new service line that they otherwise weren't offering. So
exactly,
it sounds like the level of competition and cannibalization is pretty minimal here, because you're really expanding their service offering rather than eating into it.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you think about the typical imaging network, they scan people who have an issue. If you break a knee or something, you need to go and get a scan. And then maybe there's some screening programs that they run, such as like a mammogram program or a low dose chest CT program and so on. We bring in a new audience focused on preventative care, on longevity, probably more affluent, a little bit wealthier, and a good percentage of the people that we bring in for Ezra scans come back to the facility for other things in the future if they've had a good experience. So it's like a really synergistic partnership with these imaging networks, and we have great relationships with all of them.
Launching a business focused on direct to consumer is not a small undertaking, especially especially for a new type of service. So I'm just, similar question, if you could walk us through how you've gone about building that direct to consumer strategy, where you've succeeded and where you've met some challenges.
Yeah, it's really hard actually, because you need to build a brand. You need to, especially if you're offering some new cutting edge healthcare product, you need to build credibility. You need to educate the market, especially if it's like really new. So it's It's a really difficult undertaking. It's taken us years to build a brand in this category. Um, what we've had going for us is being that our product just works. As a kind of anecdote, when we launched Ezra, this was January 7, 2019, and we launched initially with a prostate MRI scan, super fast, super affordable prostate MRI, as we were kind of working on finalizing our full body. And the very first Ezra customer was a man who got a prostate scan, and we found prostate cancer for him, PIRADS 4. And so we knew from day one that we have a product that can save lives, a product that works. And so from that day, we've just been working on educating the market on the importance of early detection, importance of getting a full body scan, and then working on technology to make the scans more affordable. And then the second part of the question is like, so the first part of the answer is we just had a great product from day one, which gave us pretty great product market fit, which meant that people kept telling other people, and we just grew a lot through organic referrals, word of mouth, and so on. And then two, we just tried everything. I don't think there's a channel or a medium that we've not tried at Ezra in order to see if we could generate awareness and conversion and so on. I will say that to this day, our biggest channel is still word of mouth, organic, referral, and SEO, which is I'm very proud of, because those are all channels that can scale infinitely with no customer acquisition cost, provided that we'll continue offering a good service and product, which I hope we will.
I want to maybe shift gears a little bit to talk about sort of the go-forward plans for Ezra. So just listening to your comments, there are a couple of key attributes that seem to be core to what you've offered to date. So direct to consumer is one, focus on cancer imaging is two, cash pay patient is three, and a business built around partnerships with imaging businesses is four. And so that sort of gives the architecture of how you go to market. What as you look at over the next 3 to 5 years, pick a time frame going forward, what of that changes? What of that stays the same? Do you see yourself expanding into different clinical services outside of cancer? So give us a glimpse into where Ezra's heading.
Yeah, so really we've had the same vision from day one, which is we want to offer the fastest, most affordable, most widely available full body cancer screening. And we've just been executing towards that vision. And so if I look at the next 2, 3 years, 5 years is kind of hard to project, but like 2, 3 years, I kind of know what we need to do, which is more geographies, more cities, more facilities. We've noticed that when we have more density in a city, so like 4 or 5 facilities, we get more people getting scanned because we're in closer proximity to them. So that's really important for us. Therefore, beginning of this year, we were in 6 cities. We're now in 20 cities, tens of facilities and so on. Next year, we're probably going to launch another 20 cities. So we want to be national. And I expect that by the end of the year, we'll be in a couple of hundred imaging facilities, which is kind of really, really exciting. So that's one dimension of focus. And then the other main dimension, main vector is building more AI. We're essentially a software and AI company. And so we want to create more AIs to make our scans faster, make our processes better, make the report generation faster. And then all of those things being faster and more efficient creates cost savings for us. And then we want to just pass all of those cost savings to consumers in order to get to this kind of $500-$600 scan, at which point we think everyone in healthcare will just want to reimburse it, because it'll be both great for outcomes, but it'll also be great for just cost reduction in the health system overall, because early detection is much cheaper to treat.
Yeah, what I love is that you have a national presence in 20 cities, 80 locations, and rapidly growing. And you've been able to do that in a very short amount of time. One, by focusing on technology as your key differentiation, and two, by scaling through strategic partnerships with these imaging centers. As you look forward, it sounds like more focus on imaging center partnerships is definitely part of the equation. Are there other partnerships that could be helpful to your business, whether it's, a urology MSO that is focusing on imaging, or an orthopedics MSO, albeit that's probably not as cancer focused, that has an imaging component. But are there other partnerships that are critical to your growth strategy, or is it really about these imaging centers, like you've been doing to date?
Yeah, so on the supply side, we're just like all hands on deck on getting more facilities live, because that is tightly coupled with more people getting scanned. And so, and we don't want to dilute our brand too much by expanding into kind of too many areas. So we're very focused on cancer, with the caveat that our scan does find hundreds of other types of things, disc herniations, aneurysms, fatty liver disease, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of certainly a useful scan, not just from the perspective of cancer, but anything else that you could image on MRI. And so we'll stay very focused on what we're doing, our full body scan, partnering with more facilities. On the other types of partnerships front, we do like partnerships with physicians. And so we have many large physician groups that refer patients to Ezra. We have concierge physicians who refer patients to Ezra. If we had, big urology groups that needed a better way to monitor men with intermediate prostate cancer, Ezra could certainly be a way to do that. That would be probably better, faster, cheaper than other solutions on the market. And so we're very open to partnerships in general, with the focus on imaging partnerships primarily.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So from a development perspective, I'm thinking about these large imaging centers, and I'm wondering, why they don't just develop their own version of this. And I think that, sometimes with AI, it gets thrown around a lot. And you're an example where you've got a solution that's successful, that it's in market, and I'm sure a lot went into that. And so maybe we can spend a few minutes just talking about what it took to get to where you are today from a technology standpoint, and why, partnering with a company like Ezra versus building it internally may make sense for a lot of the players out there.
Yeah, so actually some have tried to build somewhat competitive solutions and have not succeeded. And now we're running the any full body program that they have, we're running. The reason for this is that, and this is, by the way, at Ezra.com/technology, we kind of lay all of this out. To do what we do, we have 3 AIs, scanning AI that makes the scan faster, an assist AI that assists radiologists when they read scans to make them faster, a reporter AI that converts radiology reports into plain English so that anyone can understand what the radiology reports mean. So we have 3 AIs. We have our own EHR that we've developed that is streamlined for, or created in order to streamline the typical cancer screening process. We have the best booking system integrated into all of these imaging facilities, best patient portal out there. We have a medical team that can jump on video calls to go through the results with a particular patient that might have a finding that requires further evaluation. We have all sorts of internal processes and know-how and tools on how to integrate someone into the health system if they have cancer, and so on and so forth. So kind of like on the surface, we've made the offering seem super simple and straightforward, but there are literally tens of steps that need to happen correctly and perfectly in the background in order to actually deliver a high quality product. And so for a typical imaging facility, they just don't have the setup to be able to do what we do. And it's much easier for them to partner with us and get a check, in the mail at the end of the month.
You didn't mention it along there, but I'm wondering if there were any kinds of certifications that you had to go through, given that you are applying technology in the care delivery space.
Our AIs are cleared by the FDA, and so we have multiple FDA cleared AIs in production. The AIs that I mentioned are cleared by the FDA, and whenever we have a new model, we need to clear the FDA. So there's also the regulatory burden, if you will, on top of having a great
very good
technology.
Last question on my side, and then I think this has been incredibly informative and interesting to hear, is just pricing. You spoke to it earlier in the call, but would love to just hear the different options that Ezra offers and pricing perspective, and where you see that going, which you also alluded to earlier.
Yeah, so we have 4 scans. They're all on Ezra.com/pricing. We have our 30-minute, very cancer-focused scan. That's $1,400, $1,495. We have our full body scan, which is our 30-minute scan, plus an evaluation of the spine for degenerative assessment. That's $2,695 or $2,395. Then we have the full body plus, which is our full body plus a low dose chest CT that includes a heart scan. That's $2,695. And then we have our kind of a recent product that we launched that's kind of more of a longevity focused product that includes 2 MRI scans that are each 60 minutes plus a low dose chest CT and about 14 reports coming out of that. Neurodegenerative assessment, body composition, knees, hips, evaluation, and a bunch more. And that's just under $6,000.
Very good. Before we conclude, is there anything else you wanted to share about Ezra to our audience of physicians and MSO CEOs and other C-suite executives?
Yeah, so one important thing that we haven't touched on is when you talk about full body MRIs, one concern people have is incidental findings and false positives. And the worry is twofold. One, you're going to do these scans and you're going to find all these things and you're going to have to do biopsies on these things, and that's going to create cost and potentially harm to patients. And the second worry is you're going to find things, and as they're getting evaluated using kind of follow-up and biopsies and so on, people have a lot of anxiety. And so we've addressed those 2 things. And one, when you get an Ezra scan, we've created a scoring system so that every single finding gets scored on a scale of 1 to 5, depending on the severity. 1, 2 are green, just informative. 3 is indeterminate, needs to be monitored. 4 and 5 are likely cancer. And this scoring system allows us to essentially stratify who goes in for follow-up and who doesn't. And as a result of that, we have really, really good specificity. We haven't published numbers yet, but it's going to be in line with other screening exams. So like high 80s, 90% specificity, which is kind of the measure of false positives. The anxiety concern we've addressed by creating a medical team internally that jumps on video calls with our members to walk them through the results. And that's paired with these AI-generated reports that translate what the radiology findings mean. And so going back to your question around like, how difficult is it to do this if you're a typical facility? It's really difficult to do correctly. And we built all of these tools to handle the scan, including and especially the concerns around false positives, incidental findings, and anxiety. And so I think that's an important thing to note, especially for the physician audience.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I appreciate that. And so to the point of bringing in or building this care team to help on the second point, are there any other types of services, wraparound services, or support clinical services that you foresee bringing in to either enhance the value of what you're offering or address pain points in the adoption?
Not in the near future. So like we're very, very focused on having a great care team that can communicate about cancer-related findings in the appropriate way. And so we hire doctors and nurse practitioners and train them on how to correctly communicate the types of findings that we have in a typical Ezra scan. And I don't see this team doing more than that in the near future, but I'm always open to ideas.
Good. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. This has been fascinating to learn about Ezra, and congratulations to you on the success to date, and wishing you lots of good fortune ahead as you continue to build out the company.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Take care.